Yes, I originally come from the French-speaking part of Belgium. That's why I have this bloody French accent. Sorry about that. Nobody is perfect. So yeah, I moved to San Francisco about 4 years ago to create this company. Actually, for the little story, I tried to first raise money in Europe, but it turned out to be really, really difficult if you don't have a business model. And so I moved to the United States 4 years ago to create this company. And so I'm going to talk about basically how big data and the media, and also show you a bit more about what we do at Storify. I think that every once in a while we have an iconic image that surfaces, and that really changed the perspective on how we look at the world. And last time that happened was in 1966, when the NASA published the very first image of our planet Earth as seen from the moon. And for the first time in human history, people realized that we are all living on the same planet, all sharing the same resources, and we should better protect them. And that's how basically people start thinking about ecology, and the ecological movement was born. And 3 years ago, there is a new image that to me is also really iconic for our generation, my generation. And that image is this one that's been released by Facebook. It's actually a data visualization of all the connections on Facebook. And when you look at that image, you start realizing that we are not only all living on the same planet, but we are also all connected to one another. Every dot is basically someone, a human being on this planet like you and me, who can share instantly on social networks what we see, what we hear, but also what we feel. And this is really a tremendous new opportunity to better understand the world. How do people feel in Cyprus right now? Or in much more remote places like in Japan after the earthquake, or during the Arab Spring, right now in the east coast of the United States with the snowstorm and so on. And we used to rely on, to solve that problem, we used to rely on news organizations that have like a couple of thousand of journalists who will be spread across the world and will basically tell you what's going on. But they only have like a 3,000 journalists per news organization, like for the AP or things like that. So there is no doubt that they cannot cover everything that is happening. But this is, in this new world, everybody is a reporter. Everybody with a smartphone can share with the world what's going on. And this is really a tremendous new opportunity, but it's also like a big challenge. It's actually a big data challenge. Because I am not going, and you are not going to search on social network and see what everybody is saying right now about Cyprus. There is way too much data. It's a fire hose of data. There was a slide just before with the number of Instagram pictures being shared every single minute. It's insane. So we really need to turn that data into something that people can understand. And that's what we call a story. And so the people who are going to produce those stories are the data analysts. And in the media industry, we call those data analysts journalists. And in a way, I like to refer to journalists as information engineers, because what they really do is they take as an input a lot of different data, a lot of different sources that they have, and then they curate the best inputs, and then they just reformat basically the content in a story, in a way that their audience can really understand. And that's basically what we are passionate about at Storify, is how can we help harvest that big data that people every day are posting on the social networks to tell the world what's happening in all of those different places. And so right now, we launched Storify about 2 years ago with that mission in mind. And today, Storify is being used by the largest news organizations around the world, from CNN to Euronews here in Europe, also the BBC, The Guardian, all of those guys. But we also have organizations like the White House using Storify to basically curate what people are saying about the political issues that they have in the United States. And so here is the way Storify story look. So it's basically a platform when you can search on social network, drag and drop the best social object into a narrative, a story that you can then publish on our platform, but also embed on your own site. Also, the Prime Minister of the UK is using Storify as well, which is kind of cool. But even cooler, the British monarchy is using Storify. The Queen. My secret dream is to give a private lesson to the Queen, but I've been told she's not using it personally. She has a staff. Anyway, but so I think like it's a great opportunity, but also the system only works if everybody plays its role. The system only works because whatever is happening, there are people who use their smartphone to actually share with the world what's going on. And I think that's kind of an important lesson here, is that everybody has a role to play in this new world. We need people like you who have access to all of those technologies. Whenever you have access to information, you are a reporter. You have a role to play. And I cannot stress that enough. We have access to this technology, which is really awesome. And we all also have access to, we are all of us here in this room, we are all experts in something. And so it's our duty to actually share the information that we have with the rest of the world so that other people can actually build stuff on top of it. There might be like other engineers or other entrepreneurs who, thanks to the data that's been shared today, for example, might better identify a market opportunity and create a new business there. It might be engineers using other data to build new stuff. Or it might be journalists who, using the data that you share, will be able to create and tell great stories for the public at large. And also one thing important I want to say is that we don't need to wait for the EU to do necessarily things here. It always takes a lot of time for all of those big institutions to catch up with technologies and kind of create the framework. But the good news is we don't need to wait for them actually anymore. We used to have to, because in previous generation the technology was only available to big institutions. You had to go to an office to work to have access to a computer. But right now you have as much computing power in your pocket with something that you can buy for yourself. So you don't need to ask for permission. You don't need to go somewhere. You don't need to have to work for a big institution to be able to do those stuff, to share your knowledge. So don't wait for anyone. Please start sharing today. That's because it's by having people like you and me who's going to share content that's we're going to increase the knowledge and that we're going to help people work together. And that's this way that we're going to move humanity forward. Thank you.